And I am back again. This is video part 6 or video number 6 of this project, and I just wanted to come back really quick to show you what happened after I ran it on the craft press. These prints are still wet, they have not dried yet, they're fresh out of the oven, and this is the plate. Again, what it looks like after I ran it through the press for the second time. I was able to get 2 prints out of this, and the one print and a ghost print. The ghost print does not contain enough details for my liking, but it's something that I can rework with pen and watercolor and maybe turn it into a brand new image and a completely unique piece. Once it dries, I'm going to play with it. However, the print that I got, the very first print and only print that I got from retouching my plate with watercolor by using a brush. I was using 2 fine brushes, this one's right here, and I touched up the plate with the watercolor paint directly. I was painting watercolor or using the watercolor from the tube and painting it onto the plate and pushing it into the carvings with the brush. I also used a wet, clean brush to remove certain areas or remove certain excess of paint and to create highlights. And this is what I got. I am pleased to have gotten a better colored layers, or I should say I feel like this particular piece is showing the colors a little better because I made an effort to brush a thicker layer of paint, and when I was removing some to create the highlights, I made an effort not to remove too much so that I can retain more of the color, more of the saturation, and show more of that green. I like that I retained some of the watercolor effect just from playing with the paint when I was adding it. And I like that translated really nicely in this area, specifically right here. It has a little bit of a watercolor feel to it. And what I mean by watercolor, you know, that washy, watery look of the paint when you're blending or the colors, or when you are diffusing colors. You can see that the creases from the Tetrapack are not as visible anymore. You do notice a little bit of the crease right there across the face. You can see the fold right there in the crease, but it's not as noticeable as it was in the first trial or the first prints. So it does get flatter, or it flattens as you run it through the press. I am using handmade paper. That's something else I want to mention here. It makes a difference. The type of watercolor paint you use, the quality of watercolor paint that you use will behave and react differently, always. And the type of paper you use will also take the ink, the paint differently, and it will behave differently. I have used Arches BFK before, and I have gotten very beautiful prints out of that. In this particular project, I made a point to use the handmade paper that that I created recently. And it is a batch of paper that I made with recycled junk mail combined with cotton pulp that I created out of upcycled fabric. And some of my pieces do have some strings that I chose to leave there on purpose for texture. And I love the edges of these pieces. That's something that I personally love. The odd, uneven edges and with the little fibers hanging in here. I love that feel to the paper. And this was my first time printing with this particular type of handmade paper made by me. So I really had no idea how it was going to behave, if it was going to work, if it was going to fall apart on me, or if it was going to embrace the ink and the paint okay. I had no clue. So I will be creating another series in the future where I am printing Tetrapack Drypoint projects with watercolor using different papers like BFK and art sheets, just so that you can see what it looks like. However, again, if you are using a different brand of watercolor paint, you may get different results even if you're using the same kind of papers. So the point of this particular project is just to encourage experimentation and for you to experiment with your own resources and to learn to play with that unknown realm of exploring and experimentation when it comes to this particular printmaking technique. And in my particular case, I have to say that I am very pleased and very happy of how my handmade paper behaved with this printing project. This watercolor paint is not the best, but it's actually a decent brand. And I think that it did all right for what it is. And in the future, I definitely look forward to exploring this technique again by using perhaps a variation of paper brands and including my own handmade paper and better quality watercolor paints, just to see how better brands behave with the papers. It's just something that I personally would like to explore. I want to experiment with just to see what it does and what possibilities I can encounter with this technique. And I hope that this is it for this particular project. I hope that it was detailed enough for you to get an idea as to what to do at home if you do have these resources, how to play with it, what to look for, what to watch out for, what to expect, and what to be okay not knowing. And I hope that you do have fun exploring and experimenting, and that you do encounter beautiful surprises in your journey.